afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperial Dane, the master propaganda hero, like defender of the fatherland. Off here to an exciting 1 vs 1 on crossing the roads between the north. We got here Vonivan fighting for America, freedom, and the American dream, taking on the road here of the 2nd Infantry Division, hunkered down as the Germans under the command of Paul.A.D. charges forwards here with the Führer Grenadier Brigade. Double Kubans down here for Paul. Breakthrough, Firestorm, and Scavenge is in his arsenal, ready to tear apart the American war machine. With infantry, light infantry gun, and Sturmpioneer bulletin versus Vonivan's Rifle Company, heavy cavalry, and recon support, ready to shatter the Third Reich with infantry bulletins. So double Kubans there for Paul.A.D. as he rushes ahead to secure as much of the territory as he can, blitzes forwards for Germany. With a double rifle start there for now, into heavy cavalry, which means mines, sandbags, and other goodies. Barbed wire being laid down in defense of liberty. Here around the northwestern munitions point, I was about to say northern, but they're sort of roughly around the sort of same line of that axis. Paul's Kuban there moving straight westwards for the fuel, with the 2nd Kuban following up there. In the meanwhile, the Sturmpioneer follows their Drang nach Osten and move towards the eastern fuel point. So double rifle start there for now, spreading out a bit more tactically, though he's seemingly putting the main effort on the western side just as well there as Paul. So 3rd Kuban there for Paul, which would indicate he's likely going to go for the triple Kubelwagen, at least a lot of Kubelwagens into mechanized regiment, followed up with breakthrough doctrine and Panzerfusilier spam. That tends to be a, well, I wouldn't say common Oberkommando West strategy, but it's definitely one Oberkommando West strategy. Rears they're being pelted here by MD-34s as they move ahead, sweeping the fields of the Yankees. In the east, right, moving up, grabbing the victory point. Sturmpioneer, here's another Kuban there. It's ready to deal with the Yankees. And for now, forces they're slowly moving up west side there, not quite immediately counter-attacking the Kubelwagens. And here, right, they're moving away. So it looks like he might try and hope for the cutoff point there, hoping to deny his opponent a bit of fuel there for a bit longer. Interesting move there by Vonivan. Interesting move. 3rd rifle squad on the way there for Vonivan. 3rd squad. I'm not entirely sure what my cat is doing behind me there. So if there's any weird noises, that's the cat. Rasputin. But there you go, Americans fended off, but nonetheless fuel cut off. There we go, we can see Paul now gets both fuel points overall, giving a 30 fuel advantage there, compared to Fernando's only getting 16 fuel per minute. So of course with this, Paul can very much rush for the looks, and that's very much part again why I sort of go for this. You just grab the fuel as quickly as you can. The Kubans again being somewhat bulletproof initially, harder to contest for infantry unless you get outside the kind of light vehicle, get lucky with the shots, and they actually do regularly penetrate the thin armor of the Kubelwagens, but they're not thin enough they can do it consistently. Here's they're being shredded, need to retreat those pretty soon. Traveling up close, going to try and pressure the Kubelwagen as much as possible, draw away fire. Grabbing the western fuel point. At the same time, we got forces flanking in. Matrick at the Viations on retreat. Pops into the house. It's going to possess a threat there to Vonivan. This is going to be threatening sort of the area around his base and his rear lines. Very nasty work there. Kubans being pushed back. More Kubans moving in here to deal with the riflemen. Aggressive play here between both sides. In the early game, though, it's clearly Paul here who's leading the dance against Vonivan. Might he be taking up fast for a lieutenant? Yes, indeed. M20s and 50 cals then sort of try and counter this. Plus, the 50 cals will be good for the ensuing Panzerfusiliere that arrive for Paul. Most likely. I mean, he doesn't seem to be going for Firestorm because he's only got one Sturmpioneer squad. He's upgraded with, you know, minesweepers, in which case it seems unlikely he's going to go for that because you only go for it primarily for the flamethrowers and not for the Flammhetzers. He could be going for Scavenge, obviously, but again, it's not quite the sort of common play there. I mean, is Paul, I suppose, could try and go for something different, but we'll see. Lieutenant out there, 50 caliber out there to try and counter, and there you go. Breakthrough is very much the order of the day here for Paul and the Führer Grenadier Brigade. We must break through the American lines, no matter the cost. Just not without the officers, because, you know, no one likes them anyways. Except our glorious Führer. Ha 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 ha. Close one. Lieutenant there clearing out the Germans from one side, up close with the BAR and the Thompson submachine gun sweeping the windows for Krauts. The Kuban flanking in there, 50 caliber down there as well for Vonivan. The South Ram sending a watch ready to ambush any German light vehicles. Forces there, they're being slowly bled out, low on health there. But Paul insists they keep fighting, keep dying for the glorious infinitely glorious course of Germany. 50 cal, they're blasting with the Sturmpioneer, forcing them back. They get a lot more leeway, though, than the Volksgrenadiers, since obviously they're a lot more valuable. Few, they're being harassed again by the Kubelwagens. They are proving to be quite nasty. For now, I might go here for them trying to counter them. Or you could go for the anti-aircraft half-tech, which also works versus that. But can also reasonably well take on, say, a Lux, which Paul is very clearly aiming for here, since he's got the mechanized regiment up. In that regard, you don't have to be a mind reader or Sherlock Holmes, or somehow, you know, have cracked the Enigma code to figure out what Paul is up to. M20 out there for Vonivan, so no anti-aircraft tactic though. He could try and lay down mines and bait the Lux into it, bit risky, but you know, quite explosive if it does happen, and certainly also has a bit more psychological impact. That sense, you know, if suddenly, you know, your light tanks just explode. Panzerfusilier, they're arriving. Fun fact, the Führergrenadier and Führerbegleitbrigade both had Panzerfusilier units instead of just Panzer Grenadiers, because they're actually originally formed up from bodyguard units that are defending the Wolfschanze on the Eastern Front, which had been drawn from the Großdeutschland, which was sort of the original unit to have Panzerfusiliers. It's a little fun fact there. Quickly moves off there to support, but he doesn't get the fuel point. At the same time, though, good harassment east here with the rear echelons. Looks almost done there for Paul, who's still relying largely on his Kubelwagens, but again, they're sort of good at harassing and doing some damage, but they're not exactly, you know, assault units. And the 50 caliber, for example, makes it harder, and so does the M20. And he's actually laying down there some M6 anti-tank mines. Looks moving east with the rear echelons fighting out as much as they can. The M1 carbines singing out a dirge for the Germans. And we got another flank here from the Panzers once more, aiming for the house there. That naughty little rundown house. And here in the West, Lieutenant with 50 caliber support charges forwards, liberates the southern western point right next to the main road for freedom. And there you go, Lux arrives, blasting away its autocannon, howling out heavy shots, riflemen there reinforcing, ambulance on the way there to support Vonivan's troops. And 50 caliber, they're also falling back. Looks like he's feeling this might be a bit too risky. Wants to react and retract. Hard to say exactly what's going on for Vonivan. Second Panzerfusilier squad there arriving for Paul. Panzerfusilier Bar was just a sort of another title for Panzer Grenadiers, sort of a bit more fancy rule. Here they sort of make a sort of kind of light reconnaissance troops, sort of, but they weren't really that. They were the Fusiliers though, which were part of an infantry division, and they were actually, you know, sort of part reconnaissance, part divisional elite of the infantry divisions. So they're sort of, you know, sort of dual roles, and I suppose that's sort of more what they're supposed to represent. But again, they were not part of panzer divisions. They were pretty much strictly infantry. For example, even Volksgrenadier divisions would have had them, though that would have varied very much how many they had. I mean, the sort of technical allotment was basically a company, since they were trying to conserve manpower, but some would still have a, you know, full battalion of Fusiliers. Those would also have been equipped with assault rifles, I believe. They probably would have been prioritised with the assault rifles if they had any at all in the first place, since, you know, they were the elite, and generally the elite was always prioritised equipment. And you see, he's mining right next to his base here. Vonivan is making quite a gambit there against Paul. He's just making an assumption that he's going to get rushed inside his own base. Not a bad one. I mean, Paul is, as we've seen here, a very aggressive player, and thus, you know, is more likely to make a base style, in which case the M6 mine there could prove quite handy there for Vonivan. Though so far it's not quite working out like that. Panzers have been pushed out. We got the lieutenant, rifleman, everything just blasting away at the Germans. Panzers are forced back. Casualties piling up outside the door. And another unit appearing here. And he's trying, I think, here to bait him into the mine. The question is, of course, will Paul take it? I mean, usually if you're sort of doing something like this, you might think, you know, there's a mine there. And, you know, half the time you're usually right, and the other time you're not. But the only sort of thing is, do you want to risk it? Do you really want to risk it? And the times you do risk it, half the time at least, you know, boom, pop goes the weasel into the next realm. Beyond. Still some heavy fighting here. Looks proving to be quite a nuisance there for Vonivan. And the 2nd Infantry Division troops still reinforcing. No sign of weapon racks and bazookas. Instead, we got a Ranger squad out here for Vonivan. There to lead the way to freedom, safety, and a place with less German light tanks. Down here we got Battle Group headquarters up for not Vonivan, but Paul, with medics on the way there as well, certainly delaying tech there for any medium armor, which will certainly give Vonivan more time then to bring up stuff to counter the Lux and just, you know, gain map control. So An interesting move there by Paul, again not personal to recommend, though again it seems to work for a lot of most players, but it's not what it necessarily says the most fully efficient at all times. So there Luke's pushing back, the rifleman hammering away. Eastern side though, by the way, quite open, it looks like Vonivan does remember that and sort of trying to push up, but at the same time of course he still has to remember, defend against Paul here and also be mindful of the looks. That's sort of the main threat that makes it hard for him to just harass in the east without, say, getting a bunch of bazookas or something else. Looks like he's about to get a second Kugelwagen here, and there we go. Rifle off, and down that goes in flames. Going points there, M20 standing right on top of his own mine. That's pretty ambitious there by Vonivan. Hey Carl, you think it was a good idea to park on the mine? Yeah, that way we won't forget we parked it. What? Yeah. Who thought that was a great idea? Ha ha. You did, Sarge. No, it was your idea, Carl. Your idea. Just reinforcing. Overall, though, Vonivan's maintaining good map control again here. I mean, making good use of the 50 caliber machine gun and likes it to make it harder for Paul to use his not so plentiful infantry. As soon as he gets rid of more Kugelwagens, it becomes harder for Paul to that way also play around. So in that regard, his strategy is having a few weaknesses here. And of course, the question comes down to how quickly can Vonivan put an end to the looks, because the faster you do so, the faster you sort of really begin, you know, punishing Paul there for his otherwise aggressive but also risky strategy. In the meanwhile though, harassing home the Kugelwagen, not looking for engagements there. Very solid move as it pushes onwards for Germany. Over here repairs going on, back here healing reinforcement going on there for Vonivan. And we got the major on the way there for Vonivan, a major move towards armor. There you go, Rifleman getting absolutely pummeled there by autocannon fire, moving up there. Thompson sweeping away those damn Germans. And over here, Kugelwagen number 3 could be going down here. M20, 50 caliber there pursuing, and down it goes. All 3 Kugelwagens down, and if you can then get rid of the looks, that should basically give Vonivan mostly freedom of movement here across the battlefield. But looks obviously is very much a threat for Vonivan until then. And fuel-wise, he's behind. He's got the major on the way, but he lacks the fuel to sort of push for Sherman fast. He could try and offset this with some fuel catches, and the meanwhile Paul's going to take up. He's on the other hand not quite too fast versus a tank because battle group headquarters and medics. Great for what little infantry he had, but less great for actually pushing tanks ahead. So the reality is, Vonivan's going to be able to get out a Sherman tank before, say, Paul can get out a Panzer IV or anything like that to really counter it. So Vonivan's been able to handle the sort of early half of the game here pretty well, despite, you know, again, the aggressive, unrelenting play of Paul and the Oberkommand West here with the Führer Grenadier Brigade, which, as a fun fact, also incorporated what was known as the Landsturm, which was basically the predecessor to the Volkssturm, which people generally don't hear about. It was largely also militia, also largely composed out of older men. Fun fact. But basically there was like one battalion each of the 2 brigades that was actually composed of them. They were also just called Panzerfusiliers, by the way, and they were mounted on bicycles just to make it more fun. Granted, increasingly they were mounting a lot of their units on bicycles. Ooh, mine's there, pretty risky if he gets spotted, but if he doesn't, good stuff. It looks like Paul hasn't paid attention. Hey Helmut, didn't you see something over there? Nine. It was just swamp gas. Oh, okay. Swamp gas? What's that? No. Gas from the swamps, but we're in a forest. Shut up, Helmut. 50 caliber there with Arm Pierce around trying to stop in the M20. And, ooh, MG falling caught out in the open, negative caliber by the M20. It's 50 caliber raking those German bodies with hot freedom lead. Meanwhile, Paul extending here towards, Vonivan extending towards these. We've also got a spare panzer corps going off on the fuel. I mean, if you can destroy it before it sets up, that's great for Vonivan. If you can't, though, it basically means Paul's going to be able to keep his eastern fuel point and victory point secure. Unless, of course, Vonivan goes for a tank fast and decides to wreck it, though. He might have to back-tech for a captain and some anti-tank guns, because the anti-tank gun is really good at destroying them due to its high rate of fire. We'll have to see what ends up with there between Vonivan and Paul there. In the meanwhile, though, Paul strikes westwards to, of course, deny fuel to Vonivan. Obviously, always a priority. Spotting it here. And too bad, it's going to take enough damage that he realized obviously sooner he could have rushed more in towards and probably destroyed, but in this case it's just too late. What he can do though is just hit the cutoff points, and that way at least ensure that Paul doesn't get too much fuel out of it. Sturm Pioneers with light armor support, machine gun support, and increasing amount of Panzer they're pushing for the center. Looks veering off to deal with the Rangers, then the Rangers once more finding that the Thompsons, while greatly clearing out infantry, are pretty much useless on like tanks. And the rest of the M20 advances, the 50 caliber there making short work of any German infantry, particularly German infantry in active cover. Got that 50 caliber setting up. Also noting he's actually now turned his vehicle crew towards anti-tank duties, primarily using the re-echelons now to man the M20. An interesting move there, obviously in response to the looks. Also seems to be apparently be the biggest concession for Ivan once dealing with it, you know, besides mining up for now. But it seems to be in his gut part of this very specific strategy, and again, he wants to rely on the mines and to get up tanks. It's an interesting strategy for sure, but certainly a bit risky. Not necessarily bad, but again, it's very risky. It's, you know, high reward, high risk. I mean, if a mine goes off, you just very cost efficiently dealt with it, but if it doesn't, well, obviously, not so much. So, high risk, high reward there for Vonivan in this terms of strategy, which, you know, again requires a bit more finesse to pull off, and a bit of luck. 50 cover the needs to retreat there. Veteran free looks, hardened crew of hardened Germans, and less hardened Americans, as it turns out. Maybe just sort of watching the entire scene. Alright guys, go out then, give them hell. Arrgh. Right from there, trying to rush the looks, but not the best tactic there. In the meanwhile, though, it does buy him time to actually pop out their 50 cal machine. On the other hand, it does mean he has to leave behind the M20 until someone else can grab the car and get out of there. So he's managed to get back his 50 cal machine gun. The M20 also escapes. So far, little luck in betting though the looks into any of the mines. There's so far, I think, 3 mines. He could consider some around here, and maybe someone, you know, a bit closer to Paul's base as well. Still, he can actually go for the Sherman tank now and there, go for now and very much as soon as he can begin setting up for the tank there. Paul's a bit further off, but he's still behind Vonivan there, though. The harassment he's been able to exert against Vonivan's fuel has certainly proven helpful there, and actually, you know, ensure that Vonivan did not gain too big a lead against Paul in terms of armor. Paul, they're also following up with some Obersoldaten and more hardened men of the Führer Grenadier Brigade, which is one in a long line of bodyguard units Hitler had that were sort of, you know, militarized and formed into sort of full frontline units. The first one being the Leibstandarte. Fun fact there, the 2 brigades will be later on formed into full divisions, and I think they later on even tried to make them into a full Panzer Corps. It's a little fun detail there. Sherman almost done there, troops being suppressed. And go to work, and there go rifle bunched up in the incendiary grenade. Great for, you know, murdering the Americans, less great for Vonivan men, you know, surviving. But there you go, first medium tank out on the field here. Vonivan arrives with the M4A3. We'll have to see then he makes good use of it. He should probably get it moving as fast as possible towards the general direction of the Germans, because Paul, though, in his eagerness for just, you know, hitting Vonivan constantly with his infantry, has rather left himself vulnerable to tanks. And he realizes here as the tank does drive at him. Mein Gott! Eine amerikanische Panzer! Why didn't we anticipate this? We were too busy shooting at their troops, their infantry, and having too much fun. Ach, scheiße, time flies when you're having fun. Ja. Now it's the Americans' time to have fun. Ooh, mine spotted there. Actually got mining died by Paul to an extent, though of course it hasn't gone off yet. But if it does, it's a pretty good spot. 50 caliber out there to the Sherman. And M20 to the rescue in the west, pushing back the MD-34. Got a nice selection of high caliber lead. Looks there, by the way, halfway to Veteran T5. Pretty good. And there we go. Wipe the machine gun there. The MD-34 with the Sherman tank. And Paul here is rushing out a Jagdpanzer. Well, not rushing. He could have gone for a Panzer IV. They could actually save it up for a Panther, maybe. So, interesting choice in the Jagdpanzer. Not a bad one. I mean, certainly helpful as the armor. So interesting choice there by Paul. Securing the MG34 there, and then retreats the vehicle crew there right into a blob appearing right behind him from Paul. Sherman gets off a decent hit there, but nothing too catastrophic either. Goes in the pursuit here of all of Paul's infantry there, inflicting heavier losses, using high explosive rounds for extra effect. Alright, just aim into the center of all those damn Nazis. Just aim and shoot. There we go. Kill them all. Kill them all. And there we go. Crushes more. Crushes the orbital done. 12 kills on that Sherman. That is just horrific. 13 kills. More casualties just piling up. But there you go. Gets a damaged engine. And the Jagdpanzer arrives right behind the Sherman here. Will this be enough to sort of really, make the Sherman worth it? We'll find out. But he certainly got a few units wiped there. That leaves Paul a bit short in infantry, and certainly also can't really use manpower for anything else. That was rather brutal. Then again, was it worth the Sherman though? I'm not entirely sure of that one though. Obviously wasn't anticipating a Jagdpanzer, but he probably should be anticipating some armor around about now. Either way, I'm thinking here that Vonivan figured himself that it would just be worth it if he just get sufficient wipes, and obviously run like that could have pulled it off. In this case, Paul was able to speedily enough to play out his infantry, so the Sherman couldn't just roll the mark, get off 2 good hits there with the high explosive rounds. Unit lost there for Vonivan, going for another machine gun. He's actually got the 50 caliber plus and Pilfer MG34 there, so he's got plenty of sort of anti-infantry options, though. You might want to keep in mind also, the potential enemy army. Got the looks moving ahead there. Oh! Is the mine finally going to go off? And yes, it finally went off like a very delayed punchline. It took out the looks. Now Paul there is in a really bad spot versus Vonivan. He's lost a lot of infantry now. And his looks. He's still got a victory point lead. He's still got a tank destroyer, but Vonivan's got a lot of infantry now in comparison, and a lot of machine guns. So what will Paul do now? Obviously still got an undisrupted fuel line. Of course that could quickly be rectified with Vonivan going through here and here. That way denying Paul, precious fuel. And what will Vonivan do next? Will he try and pull for a Pershing? Will he go for more armor? If he tries to go for a Pershing, we should definitely consider some fuel caches. Big push here from Paul into the center there. German infantry rushing a bit to the side, though, as to realise there's too many Americans and not enough cover for them not to get, filled with bullets. Quick grenade there to keep the Germans at bay, also getting more time for the machine gun set up. There we go, 50 caliber, quickly setting up troops out in the open, exposed. And a full retreat there from Paul, his infantry scurrying away. Beaten by Vonivan. So what will Vonivan do next? He's got manpower there to float. Will it be fuel caches and a Pershing? Will it be just more armor now? Will it be a back tech for a captain and anti-tank guns? Will it be fighting positions? Will it be more mines? That's also an option there for Vonivan. Right now, he's got the options. The question is just which option do he choose? One machine gun sort of more frontally aggressive, the other one covering here. Could actually move this machine gun about. There's not really much point in having it there when you could be used to more, hopefully keep Paul contained within his own base. So I definitely think you should pull this one forwards. So far for now, just continue to float here. Perhaps he's himself struck by indecision. Paul filling up with the lightest infanterie. Should see the Fuhrer from the brigade beginning to hold forward to the artillery. The initial rush has finally sort of run out of fuel, and they need more stuff to break down the American defense. We also got the Major there shouting at the German from the front line, while also shooting his pistol.
The enemy is overrunning one of our capture points.
Bit of pressure up the south here, flanking the 50 caliber. There you go, work there by Paul's Sturmpioniere. There you go, we got caches up there for Vonivan. At least I think 2 by the looks of it, because he had a big fat manpower drop, and that can't just be explained by reinforcements. So Vonivan here is clearly aiming for a Pershing as fast as possible. Vastly double fuel caches. It's definitely not a bad idea, though of course he needs to quickly react here, because I was going to lose his fuel pump, which will certainly ensure he's not going to quite get that far ahead of Paul, which is clearly what he wants to do. Paul, on the other hand, is he playing for a King Tiger here? Looks like it. He could be going for a Panzer IV, obviously, but he's not planning. No, I think for now he's actually going for 3 fuel caches. That's quite extreme. You generally don't see a player build 3 fuel caches, but clearly for now thinks he can get away with it. Might be a bit too excessive. On the other hand, it's really going to help push the fuel up for, say, Pershing, and then you quickly allow him to get a tank up, but also minimise any further harassment there from Paul, because even then without the fuel point, he's not going to suffer, you know, a huge dip. Though, of course, if he does get it, he can just get out so much more fuel now than Paul. So love to see what it ends up with here, and there we go. 3 fuel caches, that's going to be 9 extra fuel per minute, no matter what. Unless, of course, they get destroyed. Paul, though, seems very much of the Königstiger plan, and there go, quickly pops in, gets behind him, suppressing troops at the same time. Panzer is there, suffering heavy losses. Small chance of wipe there. Oh, no, they get away. Hans and Fritz ran away and survived to fight the Yankees another day. Technically this day, though. Also, machine gun there looks like got wiped there. Guessing that's the 50 cal, but he's still not moving that MG34. Maybe he's worried the machine gun is cursed. You know, anyone who wields it becomes a nut in themselves, and he's just, you know, putting them into quarantine there. Yeah, that's a German machine gun. Soon you'll be talking German. Hey, Slipperwitz, but I'm Jewish. Yeah, yeah. Tell that to, the Germans. So this has certainly been quite an aggressive fight, and certainly with some turnarounds there. Vonivan actually now has the fuel for the Pershing, and just needs the manpower on the other hand. And Paul there slowly moving towards the King Tiger himself. It certainly seems to be that. It's either that or the Yak Tiger, which would be a bit strange. I'm surprised he hasn't actually moved the MG34 to defend the fuel point instead of having it here. I mean, I think that would make a lot more sense for Vonivan, to be honest. More Panzergrenadiers here for Paul. He's moving up the 50 cover there, but the machine gun remains in the house, quarantined away. Of course, if he really wants to go for it, he also needs to be careful there with just spending too much manpower and reinforcement. So for now, it's going to have to take a bit more of a defensive approach. I'm surprised again he's not shifting that machine gun down there. It would make so much more sense for Vonivan. That might just be me. Yak Panzer there, just waiting for some American tank to actually appear, since it's lacking in pretty much most anti-infantry abilities, despite the actual tank destroyer there having an MG42 in the mount, which was actually surprisingly rare for most German tanks and assault guns. They generally had relied on an MG34 with a special shroud to that way minimise, you know, the heat, so they didn't have to, you know, worry about changing the barrel inside a bloody tank or assault gun or tank destroyer. Rangers moving ahead there, close to about 23. Lost a unit though. Oh, the house collapsed with the MG34 in it, and good lord! Someone got stabbed with a large piece of wood. See, I think it would have benefited more with a machine gun over there. Or just anywhere else, really. But I'm getting really close to Pershing, but at the same time, for Paul is still getting close there. I mean, he's not really done a lot to harass, you know, Paul's fuel there. In comparison, mine's going down there from Paul to sort of carry up the flank. He's worked there for now, might try and rush the Schwerpanzer quarters and take it out. Very good foresight there, I think, by Paul. I mean, if he does get up Pershing, I mean, it could be, you know, for his first plan to just go straight for it and destroy the Schwerpanzer quarters. I'll wait Pershing out. Paul's going to be a bit more there before we get out the Königstiger. Oh, mine for their spot in the process. Mine goes off. But still managed to hit into a second mine. He wasn't anticipating Paul has laid down a minefield. Half the Steel Pioneer squad gone. Yak Panzer got an M20 laying down smoke, but gets taken there, and the mine goes off at the same time. Could actually, I think, spend more time laying down mines for the M20 as well there. Either way, they got the Yak Panzer going there for the Pershing. Pershing, they're desperately trying to escape the wrath of the German army. But there you go, lands a good hit. He could actually go for an H-Wrap round here, maybe. I guess he doesn't want to risk that here. Another hit though, taken down to half health. Infantry territory here, the 50 caliber now defending the fuel point. Troops are reinforcing, healing, and there you go. Volkswagen's moving up, Panzer as well there, trying to flank the Pershing, get off some extra damage. Rangers though covering that element with well aimed Tommy gun fire. Got that Yak Panzer falling back. Paul is now extremely close to the King Tiger, the Tiger 2. That's what's going on. So now, instead of Vonivan hitting his opponent's Cough 1, they're denying him fuel. Paul's doing that to Vonivan. Good move there. And there he goes. Got the resources for the King Tiger. And he calls it in. The Königstiger ist gefechtsbereit. Mobilized. Vonivan, though, again, thanks to all of the fuel he's getting, though, couldn't soon fill up with a Sherman tank or Jackson to support his Pershing. On the other hand, he's in a bit of trouble because his rear echelons were in that tank, or the M20, so he doesn't have anything to repair the Pershing with, and is actually quite damaged. So he's going to need rear echelons to fix it up fast. At the same time, King Tiger advancing, supported by the Yak Panzer. Sturm Pioneer is also working in tandem with Minesweepers there ready. He's probably working, there's going to be mines there from Vonivan down. So that way, ambush the King Tiger and take it out, possibly. I mean, if it gets mobilized, that could prove to be catastrophic for Paul. Paul, they're going for the fuel caches. Not a bad idea. And Vonivan here using his medics to help grab territory. Perhaps a bit of desperation there against Paul. Cash down. M26 Pershing. And right from there, taking some nasty losses from the Panzer Fusiliers. Yak Panzer slowly moving ahead. Looking for the next fuel cache to blow to bits. And good news that the Yak Panzer's ranged. He is safely far at them without being within range of any sort of American assets. Very good work there by Paul. He's also very much back in control here versus Vonivan, whose forces have certainly seen quite some losses. And we got a shown up. Cancel it for Jackson. That's probably the better idea with the King Tiger and the Yak Panzer on the move. Big push up the west side. 50 cover flank and forced away. Paul, rather than just pushing straight at the fuel cap point there and of course expecting immediate resistance, instead hooks about and behind. Overall, I think a very sort of solid tactical approach. You could use breakthrough tactics, but overall, of course, means you can just sort of hit in where he's expecting less resistance, get behind where he's probably anticipating there's going to be actual resistance, and that way also spread out and sort of attack from more angles. So overall, very good attack there by Paul. Very good attack. Moving ahead here towards the base. Sadly, no mines here. Oh, so probably could have been something disabled there. Maybe a Yak Panzer, maybe the King Tiger, maybe both even. Person there going straight for it though, taking down half health, HVAC round as well. King Tiger shoots, bounces off. Oh dear. Trying to get this here, but the Pershing misses the Yak Panzer up close. Yak Panzer, oh, Jackson arriving, not Yak Panzer, but Jackson arriving. Oh dear. Wasn't quite out there to only vehicle, so actually shot at the foot's gun instead of the King Tiger. And lost a unit here. Somewhere anyways, looks like a 50 cal machine gun got wiped out. No, he's quick to recruit there. Paul's Panzer was there forming up a very solid front line. Disconnecting from Lyman from his fuel point there. Very good there. And now he's going in more aggressively. Hitting the flank. There we go. Forcing Vonivan's 50 cal machine gun to retreat. He's got to retreat right past a lot of very veteran Panzer Fusiliers. And the result is very quick, very bloody. And pretty much an execution. Ja, mein Freund. Just like the taught us at the academy. You know, executing fleeing Americans. We were taught that? Yeah, you weren't? Nein, that's a war crime. Oh. That's why they did it at night. Large amount of pumps behind heavy cover, and of course, very veteran. We got a grenade off there, flashing out into the open. Jackson moving in, got a single kill. King Tiger, though, wipes out the Rangers. On the other hand, the King Tiger is getting very close to the mine, and oh! There we go! Mine went off, disabling the King Tiger. Problem is, he moves the Yak Jackson too far ahead, right into the line of fire of the King Tiger as well, and the Yak Panzer, and he loses the Jackson. Oh, what a rotten luck there for Vonivan. Got that Pershing moving in there. Trying to flank behind. Going for the Jagdpanzer first, which is now actually two. We got a lot of German infantry nearby though. Probably going to fire everything they can at the Pershing. Jagdpanzer there, almost escaped, but there you go. Damage engine on the Pershing. And he gets the Jagdpanzer. The Jagdpanzer cooks up. And he's quick to work there on the King Tiger, fixing up its treads. On the other hand, Von Ivan's Pershing is going to have a much harder time escaping this. 50 cover there, manned by Panzerfleets defending the western fuel point from any American incursions. And now that Pershing is for a really bad day. The King Tiger is fully operational once more. The Pershing is semi-operational. This last 50 cover there moving ahead. He needs to be careful with all those Panzerfleets about and quickly decides to go in the other direction. There you go. Pershing versus King Tiger. Very much one-sided, with the Pershing having no functional engine. Well, he's semi-functional and half health. No counter. They caught in the smoke, but even there it's not going to have much of an impact. Mostly it's just going to annoy the tank crew. And now he's just down to a few infantry units versus an opponent with a lot of Panzerfusiliers and a King Tiger. And there you go, GG, game over. Loss of Von Ivan in the 2nd Infantry. The Fuhrer Grenadier Brigade breaks through the American lines and pushes onwards to the Meuse. So some heavy fighting here, some intense fighting, a lot of back and forth between Von Ivan and Paul. It was really close at times for Von Ivan, but I do feel like he just didn't quite, sufficiently try to cut off Paul from his fuel point, even as he was rushing ahead himself, which allowed Paul then to go quickly follow up with the King Tiger faster than they probably could have gotten away with had Von Ivan more consistent headed. At the same time, Paul was much better at denying Von Ivan his fuel, in part because instead of having a machine gun there, rather than say down here, and obviously that might have then caused, Paul to harass here, but they could have had more machine guns there, could have locked down fighting positions. So some small improvements there, probably also more mines here and there. Soon that could also think benefit from Von Ivan. It's an interesting strategy. In many cases, very close to working out, but just Paul's constant harassment, while Von Ivan not quite harassing his fuel, sort of allowed Paul to sort of maintain parity and allowed you to push out tanks at an even pace there versus Von Ivan, meaning even if Von Ivan held the fuel catch, he wasn't quite able to exploit it, I think, as well as he could have, partly also due to manpower losses. He could also benefit maybe from a weapon rack, some BARs and bazookas or something. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this match. If you did, subscribe, tell friends, share it with everyone. If not, send in a replay or provide some feedback in the comment section. And of course, a big thanks to all my patron supporters with which this episode would not be possible. So thank you all, and see you all tomorrow for another exciting episode. Bye.